650 Bible prayers. We're doing Exodus chapter 32 for prayer for delayed judgment. In chapter 32, we're covering the 40 days earlier where Moses had gone up to Mount Sinai to meet with God, and during that time, God engraved the 10 Commandments onto the tablets of stone. However, while Moses was on the mountain, there was trouble brewing down below because the rebellious Israelites were building the golden calf. Okay, so here we go on verse 1. When the people saw that Moses delayed in coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and said to him, "Come, make gods for us who will go before us, because this Moses, the man who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him." So Aaron replied to them, "Take off the gold rings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, your daughters, and bring them to me." So all the people took off the gold rings that were on their ears and brought them to Aaron. So we can see in this little bit here that just in a matter of days, which was clearly less than 40 days by what I would assume, that the Israelites had already forgotten and turned away from God. The fact that they had these gold rings would show that the Israelites had not left Egypt empty-handed, and as instructed from the tabernacle, that indicates that Israel had brought out gold, silver, fine incense, spices, fine fabrics, and this wealth was part of God's plan. However, and was the result of the promise made by God, on behalf of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That original covenant promise that God said would be permanent. Anyway, we see that their intention here was for making an idol, which was in direct violation to the second commandment that Moses had already informed them of. So the Israelites had returned to idol worship, and they did this in less than 40 days that Moses was absent because he was on the mountain praising to God. Anyway, we resume at verse 4. He took the gold from them, fashioned it with an engraving tool, and made it into a calf, an image of a calf. Then he said, "Israel, these are your gods who brought you up from the land of Egypt." In building this golden calf, Aaron built for the people, but building it in Moses' absence, it shows that even people today do the same thing. You're so rooted in your traditions that it would be hard to let them go. So I know I've fallen for this. You got used to doing something and you can fall into that sin, not even realizing that that's what you are doing. This is human nature. Okay, verse 5. When Aaron saw this, he built an altar in front of the idol and made an announcement: "There will be a festival to the Lord tomorrow." Early the next morning, they arose, offered burnt offerings, and presented fellowship offerings. The people sat down to eat and drink and got up to party. Now, see, they built this directly in front of the godly altar. So Aaron had yielded to public pressure just to do this. And Aaron then attached the Lord's name to this idolatry. It's also clear that the idol brought out the worst in the Israelites due to the wild party that Aaron was now telling them to have. Isn't that interesting, the sharp contrast between the seriousness of the nature of the tabernacle feast that God ordains for his people to do, and how meticulous in detail those are, compared to this haphazard construction of the idol and the wildness that would have been provoked by this idol, the wild party. Anyway, we resume at verse 7. The Lord said to Moses, "Go down at once, for your people you brought up from the land of Egypt have acted corruptly. They have quickly turned from the way I commanded them. They have made them for themselves an idol of a calf. They have bowed down to it and sacrificed to it, and said, 'Israel, these are to Moses.' I have seen this people, and they are indeed a stiff-necked people. Now leave me alone, so that my anger can burn against them and I can destroy them. Then I will make you into a great nation." But Moses sought the favor of the Lord his God. "Lord, why does your anger burn against your people who brought out that you brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and a strong hand? Why should the Egyptians say, 'He brought them out with an evil intent to kill them in the mountains and eliminate them from the face of the earth'? Turn from your fierce anger and relent concerning this disaster planned for his people. Remember your servants Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. You swore to them by yourself and declare, I will make your offspring as numerous as the stars of the sky, and will give your offspring to this all the land that I have promised, and they will inherit it forever. So the Lord relented concerning the disaster he had said he would bring on his people. Then Moses turned and went down the mountain with the two tablets of the testimony in his hand. They were inscribed on both sides, inscribed front and back. The tablets were the work of God. As they shouted, he said to Moses, there is a sound of war in the camp. But Moses replied, it's not the sound of a victory cry and not the sound of a cry of defeat. I hear the sound of crying, of singing. As he approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, Moses became enraged and threw the tablets out of his hand, smashing them at the base of the mountain. He took the calf they had made, burned it, and ground it to powder. And Moses scattered the powder over the surface of the water and forced the Israelites to drink the water. Ooh. Then Moses asked Aaron, why did these people do to you that you would have led them into such a grave sin? What did these people do to you that you would have led them into such a great sin? So, verse 22, don't be enraged, my Lord. Aaron replied, you yourself know that the Israelite people are intent on evil. They said to me, make gods for us who will go before us, because this Moses, the man who brought us up from the land of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him. So I said to them, whoever has gold, take it off. And they gave it to me. When I threw it into the fire, out came this calf. So Moses saw that the people were out of control, for Aaron had let them get out of control, making them a laughing stock to their enemies. Wow. And Moses stood at the camp's entrance and said, whoever is for the Lord, come with me. And all the Levites gathered around him. They told him, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Every man fasten his sword to his side, go back and forth through the camp from entrance to entrance, and each of you kill his brother, his friend, and his neighbor. The Levites did as Moses commanded, and about 3,000 men fell dead that day among the people. Afterward, Moses said, today you have been dedicated to the Lord, since each man went against his son and his brother. Therefore, you have brought a blessing on yourselves today. The following day, Moses said to the people, you have committed a grave sin. Now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I will be able to atone for your sin. So Moses returned to the Lord and said, oh, these people have committed a grave sin. They have made a god of gold for themselves. Now, if you would only forgive their sin, but if not, please erase me from the book you have written. The Lord replied to Moses, whoever has sinned against me, I will erase from my book. Ooh, wow. Now go, lead the people to the place I have told you. See, my angel will go before you. But on the day God settle accounts, I will hold them. When he says them, he's referring to the Israelites, accountable for their sins. And the Lord inflicted a plague on the people for what they did with the calf Aaron had made. So clearly the practice of idolatry is bad because it angers God. And what's the point? Because the idols don't have any power, no power that surpasses God's. But in the construction of the idol, it's funny that when it was time, they had to destroy it and completely, utterly destroy it to conform once again to the second commandment. Just so that people are reminded that all power comes directly from God. It's quite interesting that Aaron knew that building the idol was wrong, but still succumbed to the pressure, which I guess is similar to people succumbing to the pressures of society or their friends. Anyway, in his panic over Moses' return, he blamed his fellow Israelites. His role in the emerging priesthood made his bad judgment even more serious. Living in harmony with God will have you at peace with God and his commands. It's funny how we're often faced with a dilemma and, you know, we are allowed to make choices because we have free will. You either follow God or you do not. It's actually a decision that you have to make, but you may not even be aware that you're making the incorrect decision. And because sometimes you're literally faced with the conflict between your allegiance to God, to your family, to your friends. It's just, Jesus also directly spoke to this issue many times so that he makes it clear that no matter who you are, your main allegiance, your number one allegiance is your highest allegiance must go to God first and foremost and always. It's also interesting that after Moses expresses his anger, he still goes back to mediate for the people, and he takes their burden on his shoulder through the spiritual warfare that he has to now endure because they are close to destruction as a result of their rebellion. Yet, despite him being a good mediator, he couldn't make atonement for their sin, and only Jesus can make atonement for someone else's sin. So, since he can't make atonement for their sins, God just instructs him to reassure Israel that God's covenant is still intact. So, despite the people's disobedience, God will still keep his promises to them, and he will continue to lead them.